Hello everyone, my name is JJ Johnson, and today we're going to be talking about Pandemic Preparedness 101. This is going to be some base level stuff on pandemics, and hopefully it will be enough information that will help you to research additional information so that you'll be able to help handle a pandemic should it ever come your way. Okay, we're going to go ahead and define what infectious disease is. We're going to list some key infectious disease terms, then we'll list methods of transmission. Take a look at some non-pharmaceutical interventions, and we'll look at the phases of infectious disease threat and different ways to mitigate each of those phases. We'll also list some helpful supplies, and we'll talk about setting up a quarantine room in your home. Okay, so what is an infectious disease? According to the Mayo Clinic, infectious diseases are disorders caused by organisms such as bacteria, viruses, fungi, or parasites. Merriam-Webster defines it as a disease as influenza, malaria, meningitis, rabies, or tetanus caused by the entrance into the body of the pathogenic agents or microorganisms as bacteria, viruses, protozoans, or fungi which grow and multiply there. Essentially, an infectious disease is a disease that can be passed from person to person. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at some key infectious disease terms. The R naught factor, or the R naught, is the basic reproduction number of the disease. The higher the number, the more infectious it is. If the number is higher than 1, it will continue to spread. Seasonal influenza is about a 1.3, Ebola is a 2.0, and the measles, which is very contagious, is a 12. Emerging disease is a disease that infects a regional population for the first time. Some recent examples are COVID-19, SARS, MERS, Zika, etc. Incubation period is the period between infection of an individual by a pathogen and the manifestation of the disease it causes. An example would be influenza is 2 to 3 days. COVID-19 is up to 24 days. So this varies greatly with each disease. Asymptomatic transmission. This happens when a person has been infected with a disease and they are contagious, but they are not yet showing symptoms of infection. A pathogen. A bacterium, virus, or other microorganism that can cause disease. A microbe. A living thing that is invisible to the human eye, i.e. bacteria, virus, fungi, etc. Index case. The first person infected with the pathogen known to health officials, i.e. patient 0. Reservoir. An animal, plant, or environment in which a disease can subsist for extended periods of time. Spillover. The transmission of a disease from one species to another. Vector. A living creature that passes a disease to another living creature, i.e. a mosquito, a bat, camel, etc. Zoonotic. Any disease that spreads from animals, including insects, to people. Endemic. A disease that is present or usually prevalent in the population or geographical area at all times. Epidemic. A disease occurring suddenly in numbers clearly in excess of normal expectancy. Pandemic is the worldwide spread of a new disease. Alright, so there are 6 basic methods of disease transmission. We're going to take a look at those here real quick. The first one is direct contact. This is physical contact by 2 persons through touching, kissing, sexual intercourse, etc. The next is indirect contact. That's when one person contacts a fomite that has a disease present on its surface and then touches a mucous membrane, typically the eyes, nose, or mouth. For example, some of these fomites might be doorknobs, countertops, towels, etc. The next method of transmission is through droplets. Person coughs or sneezes and spews droplets onto your face or hands, and it directly makes contact with your mucous membranes or a fomite, and then you touch the affected area and then touch the mucous membrane. The next method of transmission is aerosol or airborne transmission. This is when infectious droplet nuclei that can be exhaled with typical breathing, and the infected particles can stay suspended in the air for long periods of time. A typical range on this is up to 160 feet. So those particles can stay airborne for quite a while. Next method is body fluids. This is the transmission of a disease through the exchange of blood, urine, or saliva between two people. For example, hepatitis B, HIV, etc. The next and last method is the fecal-oral route. This is when fecal matter in an infected person becomes contaminated and is then passed on to others through poor sanitation, a lack of hand washing, contaminated drinking water, or even during food preparation and sexual activity. Next, we're going to discuss non-pharmaceutical interventions. These are things that you can do to help when someone in your family has an infectious disease. First is stay home if you're sick. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. The third one is cover your coughs and sneezes. Use the crook of your elbow, not your hands. Next, and probably most important, is wash your hands for at least 20 seconds multiple times per day. Additionally, you should also clean frequently touched surfaces and objects with sanitizers, like a 1 to 9 bleach solution or Lysol. The next one is separate the sick and well children or adults at home. If someone's sick, put them in a separate room so that everybody else doesn't get sick. The next is use paper towels in bathrooms or clean washcloths and towels daily. The next, stay hydrated. You also need to get a lot of sleep. Make sure you get at least 8 hours of solid sleep. You should also moderately exercise daily and eat healthy to keep your immune system strong. Next, let's go ahead and look at the 5 phases of infectious disease threat. I've developed these phases so that you can have some mitigation options for each phase so that you can know what you need to do and when you need to do it. Phase 1. This is a very low risk. This is when there are no known cases within your state, but an epidemic or a pandemic is known to be spreading. Phase 2. This is when there's a low to moderate risk. There are a few known cases within your state, but the cases are under quarantine. Phase 3. This is a moderate risk. There are multiple known cases within your state, and exponential growth is occurring. No cases have been identified in your county. Phase 4. This is a high risk. There are multiple known cases within your county, and exponential growth is occurring. Phase 5. This is a very high risk. Local hospital services are overwhelmed, and the local area is experiencing service interruptions or mandated public quarantines. Okay, now let's take a look at some Phase 1 mitigation options. Stay alert. Pay attention to the progression of the disease. Next, understand how it's transmitted and what the signs and symptoms of it are. Next, cancel all international travel plans. You should also avoid large public gatherings, for example, movie theaters, restaurants, concerts, sporting events, etc. You should also consider utilizing online grocery pickup or delivery services if they're available in your area. I also recommend working out at home instead of going to the gym. Next, consider taking your lunch to work instead of going out to eat. If you do go out to eat, use the drive-thru instead of going inside. Next, take immune system boosting vitamins and minerals or supplements, such as vitamin A, B, C, D, and E. You can also consider echinacea, elderberry syrup, and those types of supplements. Next, you should wash your hands frequently for at least 20 seconds using warm soap and water or 70% ethyl alcohol hand sanitizer multiple times per day. Additionally, you want to drink plenty of water and stay hydrated. Get a minimum of 8 hours sleep per night. Regularly clean high-traffic surfaces in your home and workplace with bleach, a bleach solution, or Lysol or other sanitizing agents. And last for this one is increase your social distance when you're in public. Try to stay at least 6 feet away from other people. Okay, now let's look at some Phase 2 mitigation options. With these, you want to follow all the Phase 1 recommendations, plus change out of your work clothes as soon as possible when you get home. Shower twice a day, once in the morning and once when you get home from work or school. Install an ultrafine air filter in your home's HVAC system. You could also assign hand towels in bathrooms to family members, because sharing hand towels is one major way that disease can spread. Or change all the towels daily or use paper towels. You also want to stop shaking hands or hugging with people that you meet in public. Additionally, don't ride with people for commutes or to lunch. Just drive separately. Additionally, you can also utilize video teleconferencing or phone conferences in lieu of face-to-face conferences at work if possible. And take your family's temperature and blood oxygen levels at least once per day. You can do this with a pulse oximeter that can be purchased off of Amazon fairly cheaply. Okay, so let's take a look at some Phase 3 mitigation options. Follow all Phase 1 and 2 recommendations, plus ask your supervisor if you can telework or work from home if that's possible for your career. If telework is not an option, see if you can work an alternate shift when less people are at work. Additionally, you're going to want to wear a cheap surgical mask when in public spaces. This is an outward indicator to people that you want to keep your distance and a warning for people not to get too close. Additionally, clean your office spaces with Lysol or other sanitizing agents daily. Next, consider hiring a babysitter or a nanny to watch young children at your home during the day so that they do not have to go to daycare. Additionally, consider picking up school-aged children at school so they do not have to ride the school bus to and from school. Also, only eat food that's prepared at home. Don't go out to eat. Do not allow visitors in your home. Also, do not allow children to do any activities with other friends outside of school. And take family members' temperature and blood oxygen levels at least twice per day. Alright, now let's take a look at some Phase 4 mitigation options. You're going to want to follow all Phase 1, 2, and 3 recommendations, plus petition the school board to cancel school. If they'll not do so, try to get them to require all students to wear a mask while at school as a minimum. You may also want to just consider removing your children from schools altogether if possible. If children must go to school, make sure they wear an N95 or higher respirator mask and clear goggles while they're at school. They're going to need at least 2 of these per day. Give children a hand sanitizer to carry to school and tell them to use it between each class. If nitrile gloves will fit, then have them wear those as well. You're going to want to utilize vacation time or take leave from work if working from home is not an option. If you must work, make sure you wear an N95 mask or higher and clear goggles and nitrile gloves while at work. Again, you're going to need at least 2 of these per day because they will get wet and saturated, and they only last about 4 hours each. You also want to make sure you wear an N95 or higher mask and clear goggles and nitrile gloves anytime that you're in public, i.e. if you're going to pick up groceries, to pay bills, to the post office, etc. And last but not least, take your family members' temperature and blood oxygen levels at least 3 times per day. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at some Phase 5 mitigation options. It's getting pretty serious at this point, Make sure you follow all phase 1, 2, 3, and 4 mitigation recommendations. Plus, take a leave of absence from work. It's time to stay home. Remove all children from school. And self-quarantine. Do not leave your home unless required for your survival. Take family members' temperature and blood oxygen levels every few hours while awake. Next, increase your daily sleep to 10 hours. This will help your immune system fight off any potential disease infection. Additionally, expect possible civil unrest. Increase your home security. And if you're in a highly populated area and you have a well-established, well-stocked bug-out location that's in a rural area, consider relocating the family to that location. All right, now we're going to go ahead and list some helpful supplies that may help you get through this ordeal. First thing is a thermometer. Next, a blood oxygen monitor or pulse oximeter. A stethoscope, so that you can listen to the heartbeat and the breathing of the potential patient in your family. And you may also want to get an automatic blood pressure cuff monitor so that you can check the blood pressure if someone gets sick as well. Next is hand soap. I prefer Dial or Hibiclens antimicrobial soap. You also want to consider some 70% ethyl alcohol hand sanitizer. Next is nitrile gloves. You're going to also need some cheap surgical masks. Now, the surgical masks are for basically letting people know that you want to keep your social distance. And it's also a kind of a base level of protection. You're going to also need some N95 or higher respirators for a higher level of protection as well, in case someone gets sick in your home or in case you have to go into public where there are sick people, like, for example, at a hospital. Additionally, you're going to want some clear face shields and goggles. With the goggles, you want to go ahead and have the top and side protection on those. You're also going to want to consider some UVC germicidal light bulbs, some plastic sheeting, some duct tape, vitamins, minerals, and supplements, over-the-counter medications to relieve pain, headaches, body aches, some Tyvek suits with hoods and booties, a full-face respirator and NBC or antiviral filters, some Lysol, bleach, and other sanitizing agents, and some disposable hand towels. All right, and last but not least, we're going to talk about setting up a quarantine room in your home. You're going to want to identify a room that has the following characteristics. It should be well ventilated with multiple windows. The room should be close to a bathroom, far away from the kitchen, and separated from other bedrooms in the home if possible. It should also be near an exit. You're going to want to use some plastic sheeting to separate the room from the rest of the house. Use duct tape and or plastic to seal off air vents and utilize windows for ventilation instead. If it's wintertime, go ahead and add a small electric heater if needed to stay warm in that room. You're going to want to put a small fan in one window pointing outwards to create negative air pressure in the room. Additionally, you're going to want to create a small clean room. This is going to be a place where you can don and doff your Tyvek suits and personal protective equipment. In that clean room, you can utilize a UVC light in the clean room to help keep the room sterile and to help decontaminate the Tyvek suit and full-face respirators after they've been washed thoroughly in a 1:9 bleach and water solution. You're going to want to do this each time after you use them, or throw them away if you're not going to decontaminate them. They shouldn't be worn twice unless they've been sanitized. You're going to also want to utilize a UVC light in the quarantined bathroom as well when it's not in use to help keep it sanitized as well. Only one healthy person should go in and out of the quarantine room to help the sick person if possible. Do what you can to minimize the number of trips in and out of the room by providing plenty of food, water, medications, entertainment, books, etc. And you can utilize FaceTime or other video teleconferencing software or a video baby monitor to check on the patient in between physical visits. Okay, that has been Pandemic Preparedness 101. If you have any questions, you can email me at americanpreppingacademy@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.